Okay, so in this video, I'm going to take a bit of a departure. I'm not going to be teaching a song. I'm going to be talking about a very useful tool for a guitarist, especially an acoustic one, the Capo. And most of you guys have probably seen a Capo, know that it somehow mystically changes keys, but how to use a Capo effectively is often not really understood, and it's kind of a hard concept to grasp at first, especially if you don't have a prior theory base. So in this video I'll be talking about how you can use a Capo to make playing certain songs easier, to change the key of songs, and really, yeah, just how to make the most out of playing using a Capo. And some of it will be a discussion on theory, so try and bear with me because I think it really helps. And it's not too hard to grasp. I think I'll start it off with the discussion of some theory and how chords work and are named. I guess calling this a G is kind of a misconception. Even though calling this shape your fingers make a G is a misconception. This is a G chord, but because your fingers are in this position, doesn't make it a G. Maybe a better way to think about it is when your fingers are in this position and the rest of the strings are open and the guitar is tuned normally, the chord you're going to get is a G. It's kind of a hard to grasp distinction, but maybe you'll see in a little bit what I mean. Okay, so now on to some theory. Basically, if you've ever wondered why chords are named what they're named, this is kind of where that comes from. Except it's easier to see on piano, but unfortunately I don't have a piano here. So, in a standard position, a chord, the lowest note of the chord is what the chord is named. So if you'll look, the lowest note here in a G chord is the 3rd fret of the E string, which is a G note. The distinguishes between major and minor and sevenths and all that stuff, it's a whole different story. But in terms of calling something G, or E minor, the E and the G in those is determined by the lowest note of the chord. So that's a G, that's an A, lowest note's an A, and the same thing works for bar chords. So the lowest note up here when I'm playing my bar chord on the 7th fret is a B, so that makes it a B major bar chord. So A minor, lowest note's A, that's the whole deal. So that's how you know what chord you're playing. So when you're using a Capo, you're adjusting things. Now the best way, and if you don't have this down now, I'd recommend not even bother watching the rest of the video and go memorize this, is you need to know all the note names on the top 3 strings of your guitar. So like you should be able to just say, okay, 7th fret A, that's an E. And this is a G on my D string. If you know the top 3 strings, you should be pretty good for capoing. If you don't know them, knowing all the note names of all the frets, all the way up to the 12th, is super important. Okay, so now let's move on to capoing. So say you've got a song in the key of B flat. Now B flat is an awful key to play in on acoustic guitar. If you're doing full of bar chords, you're doing stuff like your B flat, your E flat, G minor, F, C minor. They're all bar chords that are A, often hard to play, and B, really hard to connect and make sound good. If you're jumping all over and sliding in maybe awkward positions, you're not going to be playing your best. So you want to figure out a way to play this song. So, you know, okay, we've got a B flat chord. Where's my B flat? 6th fret, E string. Okay, and G, the key of G with your G, C, D, E minor chords, that's usually the easiest key for everyone to play in. It's really familiar chords, it's probably the first ones you learned. So, you know there's a B flat. So, if we make this shape, because this shape doesn't mean G, it means when it's down here it's G. If I bump it up here, the lowest note is a B flat. So, this should be a B flat chord. However, without a Capo, it sounds like crap. So what you need to do is use the capo to act as the end of your strings. So, like this, when you have a G, the end of your strings is 2 frets down. So when you have a capo and you want to play in B flat, you got to put your capo on the 3rd fret, and then 2 frets down is the end of your strings. So now this is a B flat because it's the lowest note, and that sounds a whole lot better. And that's a B flat major chord. It's a whole lot nicer than playing this. So you're like, okay, what are the other chords in this key? I see a G minor. Okay. That lowest note is a G. And so, well, what minor chord uses the open low string? It's an E minor. So if you choose your E minor shape, it's a G minor chord. Next, you'll see maybe an E flat. So here, E flat. What string, or what chord shape uses the 3rd fret from the end of the string? So from the capo, uses the 3rd fret, it's a C. So, you've got your B flat, E flat, and G minor. And so, with the capo, you can play it like... And if you didn't have a capo, that same thing would be... a whole lot worse. So, hopefully that kind of makes sense. I'll explain it for a couple other keys, maybe using some other chord shapes, just to kind of reinforce it. But that's the basic idea of capoing. You want to take a look at the notes on, or the chords that you're going to be needing for the song, and then find on your fretboard those notes and put your capo down and figure out what chords what chords work, so you can get that lowest note in, and then you position your capo accordingly. Okay, so next we'll do an example of playing in the key of A, but using a capo. So normally A is a pretty easy key to play in. You got your A, your D, your E, and sometimes, depending on how much you like bar chords, the F sharp minor can be a little tricky. So, even though they're nice chords to play, maybe you want a different sound. So, you're gonna take a look. So let's see. This is an A here. And so therefore your A major chord, you can probably play it in a few different ways. If you're using your G shape, well, it would look like that, and then I need to put a capo on the 2nd fret. If you wanted to use your E major shape, which is the shape I've chosen to use here, well, an E major would be like that, because you got your E here, your lowest note, so if I put a capo on 5, then I should be able to play the chord A in the E major shape. So, if I do that, and I've got... oh, gotta get it on the good. So, E major shape, but it's the A chord. Okay, so then you look in the key of A major, you've got a D in there as well. So, here, you got an open, your D is right there, taken by the capo, and so what major chord? It has the 2nd string open as its root, A major. So, take your A major shape, and that's a D major chord. So you got going between A and D. And the other couple chords would be an F sharp minor. And so, in this key, it's a C sharp minor, or with that capo. C sharp minor shape, but because it's capo 5, it's an F sharp minor. And then your B shape is an E. So that's all the chords you need for that song. And then instead of, if you weren't going for the sound of, with the capo 5, you've got, oh sorry. Just a different sound. And it could be what you're going for, maybe not. So, hopefully that explains how to make songs easier when you're capoing.